Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. And our top story today, city planning in a post-COVID world. Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Shane Grimm is Director of Planning for the City of Havre de Grace, Maryland. Shane, great to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us again on the program this morning.
Great. Thanks for having me again, Jeff. Looking forward to talking with you about the City of Havre de Grace.
Yeah, let's talk about some generally speaking, planning in a post-COVID world. And look, I don't think COVID is going away in totality. I think we're going to have some semblance of it. But you and I have talked before about this great migration of people moving to smaller cities, smaller towns like the City of Havre de Grace. And it's, by the way, no knock on City of Havre de Grace, great town, shoreline town. But what's been the impact of this great migration? Here we are nearly 3 years after the beginning of the pandemic.
Well, the impact of the great migration is that we're seeing a lot of new development within our town. We're very limited in how much we can grow physically because we're constrained by I-95 and other infrastructure constraints, but we're really growing significantly within our boundaries. So that really brings up some issues related to infrastructure. And in a small city like ours, we have older infrastructure that we really have to overcome. We spent a lot of time this winter battling with broken water mains from changes in temperature, which are typical. So that is part of the Great Migration, is trying to figure out how we can serve all these people efficiently with the resources that a city must provide to them quickly, because we're seeing about probably 1,500 to 2,000 new units in the City of Havre de Grace over the next few years.
Shane, you're often talking to the city council in your role. And I guess, COVID is probably the biggest public health issue that I've ever lived through. Maybe, you and I are around the same age. How important is public health and the mitigation of maybe the future pandemic? How much of that is part of the discussion within the city council? I mean, I have to think that there are some lessons that were learned, but then applying that to planning and growing and making sure you have access to hospitals and other needed facilities.
Well, I think one of the things that we're doing in the city with the administration and the council is really moving forward the mayor of Havre de Grace, William T. Martin's vision of revitalizing the downtown. And where that plays into public health is we obviously have a lot of older buildings downtown. And in those older buildings, they're really difficult to retrofit in an environment we have now, where we really want to make sure there's open air and enough ventilation, given what we see with COVID and spreading through the air, and people can get sick in confined spaces where there are a lot of people. So as part of that, really our mission is to change the downtown to bring a lot of life out onto the streets. Obviously outside, you're going to have a lot of better ventilation. People are going to feel safer and not as constrained or confined in an area. So that is probably a broader public outreach that we're doing, or effort that we're doing, to really revamp our downtown, bring it into the future, while also making it safer for citizens and more desire to be outside in the open air. Really is going to be a big impact to our downtown.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to grab a drink, have some food, maybe see a live band. Who knows, right? I mean, I think people really want to be together, and I think there are some lessons there. I guess lastly, for this segment, this portion of the interview, let's talk about infrastructure, and let's talk about, not infrastructure, let's talk about supply chain. And we have felt the effects during COVID of supply chain not being able to get microchips, not being able to get even copper copper wires for homes. On top of that, now we've got this war, this invasion going on in Eastern Europe. Let's talk about how supply chain impacts the city, not only construction, but other facets of what you and the council are doing.
Sure. Supply chain issues have been a major problem in the city of Havre de Grace with respect to one end with restaurants, and often going into restaurants and being able to not get certain items because of supply chain issues. It's not uncommon to go into a restaurant, and this just isn't the city of Havre de Grace. It's been other places that I've been to where, immediately your waitress will say, or your waiter will say, we don't have these items today. We weren't able to get this or that. So that's one thing. But another big thing that we're really seeing in the city is related to our infrastructure improvements and just general things that we're doing in the city. We're doing upgrades to our water treatment plant now. And some of those things are getting backed up because of supply chain issues, whether we're not able to get certain valves or special pieces of equipment that we need to be able to do those upgrades. And we've seen other projects. Our marina right now is being dredged, which is a great thing. We have a lot of siltation in our marina from coming down river from the Susquehanna. But as part of that project, we're also doing things like upgrading our fuel tanks that are used to fuel all the boats in the marina. And those are months and months behind because of supply chain issues. So all those kind of dates that we had set out to get these projects done, we are pushing them back because of supply chain issues.
Yeah, I mean, a city grows, but a city needs to grow both in terms of population, but also you need to physically grow the city with supplies to grow infrastructure. Shane, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about city planning in a post-COVID world. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-504-8194.
Welcome back. We're talking this morning to Shane Grimm. He's Director of City Planning for the City of Havre de Grace, Maryland. Shane, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Thanks again, Jeff.
Yeah, a really interesting conversation about growing your city, how you plan in a post-COVID world. Let's talk about public schooling. Let's talk about parks. And you hit on this a little bit before in segment one about hospitals. Those things have to be top of mind, and maybe the adaptation in this post-COVID world for all those things.
Yes, we're really going through a transition in the city of Havre de Grace because in one respect, we're losing our hospital that's been here for over 100 years. It is moving to the city of Aberdeen, which is only 5 miles away. But in the hospital world, really the delivery of services from hospitals is changing from full service hospitals to smaller, what they call freestanding medical facilities. We're really disappointed to lose our hospital. It was originally going to move up to an interchange still in the city of Havre de Grace, but for various reasons, it is moving. But that is going to lead to other opportunities for the city of Havre de Grace with redevelopment of the hospital, as well as other opportunities at the interchange of I-95 and Maryland Route 155. So we have some big things that will be able to support other things in the city of Havre de Grace, and hopefully those things will also transition to allowing our downtown to continue to grow and support our downtown. So lots of exciting opportunities there.
Shane, you talked about common areas and for bars and restaurants and retailers, quite frankly, in the city of Havre de Grace. How important are parks? You know, I can tell you during COVID, going to take a walk in a park, going to walk your dog. I don't own a dog. You know, I have 2 cats. Didn't walk the cats outside, but saw a lot of people kind of get some fresh air. Open spaces, really, really, really important, I think, in a post-COVID world.
One of the beauties of the city of Havre de Grace is we have a lot of open park area, and we have a significant amount of the shoreline that the city owns or has access to. We have an almost 1 mile promenade on the shoreline, right where the Susquehanna River meets the Chesapeake Bay. And during COVID, it was amazing to really see how many people were out using that promenade facility in our parks. One of the neat things that we have going on the north side of the town is our director of public works has a project, a multi-million-dollar project, which we've received some grants from different agencies in the county to take an old industrial shoreline and turn it into what's called a living shoreline. And that is really going to be a big deal for not only the city and the county, but even the region. This is a really state-of-the-art project, which will take old bulkheads and old industrial shoreline and hopefully turn it back to something more akin to what the first settlers in and around this area 300 years ago experienced. And as part of that, we're also going to turn those old brownfields into a public park, which will have boating access to the river and parking for boaters. So we really have so many opportunities in the city of Havre de Grace for recreation. And we just hired a person whose full-time job will be to make sure those parks are being utilized for different events and things like that, because we are a city of events. We have hundreds of events and weddings throughout the year. So lots of public areas that is really great to have during a pandemic situation.
Yeah, I guess the only difference is that the settlers didn't have cell phones, but you never know. Shane, let's talk a little bit about inflation. And look, this is impacting everyone. I have to think it's impacting the community of Havre de Grace. You look at gas prices, you look at food prices. You talked about the supply chain issues. What's been the impact to the community?
Really, I think the inflation, the biggest impact to the community is really going to be with home prices. And those really soaring home prices in the city of Havre de Grace. We've seen significant increases in those prices over the last 2 to 3 years. And I may have said this on a previous episode, is that we have seen a number of homes in the city that have sold sight unseen. I'm aware of at least 3 instances myself where our housing stock, our older housing stock, our historic housing stock is very sought after. So there are people buying up those homes sight unseen because they want to be in Havre de Grace. Havre de Grace is kind of the it city in the region, if you ask me. I'm a real cheerleader for the city. But inflation and home prices, I think, is the biggest thing. And how do we deal with that, as well as, you know, those issues really pricing out a certain segment of our population and making sure that we still have affordable housing opportunities for citizens in Havre de Grace. And I think through the efforts of the administration and myself, we've really tried to make sure that we have affordable housing opportunities in the city that serve the city. And I think we've been successful with that.
Shane, last question. Let's talk a little bit about sustainability. You mentioned the dredging of the harbor there in the city of Havre de Grace, something that you're working on. I guess that will allow bigger boats to come in to the harbor. That's a great thing. But let's talk about some of the sustainability projects that you all are working on, because cities, not only here in the U.S., but across the globe, trying to include things like electric vehicles, recycling and other things in order to make sure that they have a positive impact on the environment. What's the latest at the city of Havre de Grace?
Well, the city of Havre de Grace, and especially the Martin administration, are really big on sustainability. One of the things that I learned when I came to the city 4 years ago was that the city is almost entirely, the city hall is almost entirely run on green energy from a solar project elsewhere in the county. One of the things that we have here, it's really neat to get around the city. If I want to go out and look at something, is we have tiny electric vehicles that we use to get around town in, which is really great. Also, through efforts from BG&E, we do have some electric charging stations around town as well for electric vehicles. And we're seeing more and more electric vehicles around town and around the county. So sustainability is a really big deal. One of the other things that we've really done a lot with, kind of along the lines of the Shoreline project, is our Department of Public Works has done a lot of sustainability and green infrastructure projects where we've daylighted streams or taken areas of flooding and tried to put them into a more natural environment so that it filters the water and is really good for the bay. In the end, when we have polluted waters that were previously getting directly into the bay that are now going into these green infrastructure projects to filter, that is really a big deal. And we're really at the forefront of that. And I really give kudos to Tim Whitty, our Director of Public Works, for really trying different techniques to improve the quality of the environment in our city.
And maybe you'll be able to get back, we were talking about the first settlers, maybe you'll be able to get back to where the environment is very similar to what the first settlers of Havre de Grace experienced. Shane, we're going to have to leave it there. Great to see you as always. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate you having me.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to see our latest content? Search our archives. We'll check out our streaming partners, Amazon, Roku, Samsung, and over 100 more. And of course, our website. We're back again tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
But if you're tired of the same old...
Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the First Lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.